Okay, so we got Aristotle. We got him frustrated in his job, like anybody in an office today is frustrated, and he wants to get his TPS reports off his desk because they keep flying in these little scrolls. And he's trying to figure out how to get some more time to go talk to his boyfriend, girlfriends, whatever the hell he was doing, and enjoy his life. But he had to run the school and stick with his passion of teaching the art of reasoning and bettering all of humanity. He comes up with these standards for scientific evaluation. But as mentioned in the previous episode, he did not live in an understanding of a polar ideology at the time of his work was being performed. He knew the object as a whole. He did not split the object into two pieces to try to, which is an awful drawing, to try to figure out what the hell was going on with it. We do this today because of how we're taught. Some years after Aristotle's time frame, the sands of time took hold, polarity took hold, Greece falls, a very powerful, intelligent group of folks move themselves west, collect a lot of intellectual information, and bring it back to their honeycomb. And through this process, humanity is losing more and more reasoning every year, but some fine scholars sit down and say, hey, look, we got to come up with a way of having commerce occur, having basic mathematics being documented a little bit easier, and have it in a way that's simple to write. These Roman numerals, all this other jazz we got going on, is making life too difficult to function. So what they sat down and they did was they made a bunch of individual numerics, and they came up with a way to count, and basically a 9-digit group, and then they offered a 0 as a placeholder for a different nines group to occur. We know it as a 10-digit counting system today. The system started with the number 1 because it was purely logical in form. Now this right here is the severing point in humanity. This is where we turn from the reasoning of Aristotle, where an object, any subject matter we had, was a whole creature with a literal and an abstract side to it, as I try to write an L upside down, which is absolutely impossible for my mind to do. Literal and an abstract side. He understood the whole of the object as best as he could. Now, we have these fine Indian and Muslim scholars come in and go, if it's not in front of you, it doesn't exist. There's the first object. Well, wait a minute now. What about the abstract side of language? The ABCs. The side of language that's not quantified by counting an object. This object is here in front of me, but yet it is not. This is what Aristotle understood. He could understand it through a reasoning standpoint that all things were one. Now, we wanted a way to count change, hand things out, because reasoning was slowly dying in the human mind. To understand how reasoning was dying in the human mind, all we have to do is go back and look at ancient Babylon. Ancient Babylon built a clock system that was in a 60-digit counting mathematics. 60 digits. Now, we use these clocks today still. But you have to understand this was a mathematical system that was in counting groups of 60 units. They had machines, sundials, all those other jazz to keep track of it. I know, they're not superpowers. But the human mind had the ability to hold the abstract, hold what was not there in front of them in a much larger scale with a 60-digit counting system before it rotated to a new counting group. We now have to visually look at something, our hands, to understand our reality. This all ties back to teaching the literal as its own, leaving the abstract as its own. Reasoning is never applied in this system of education. If you cannot see it, it does not exist. The poets just tell poetry, they have no answers. This is not the scientific method Aristotle set in place. He did not ask or want of this from us. What he wanted were for us to understand the reality this way. A equals 1. B equals 2. C equals 3. If you wanted to write a math problem, you would go A plus A equals B. This is the same as 1 plus 1 equals 2. If we would have kept the pace that we had when Aristotle had his reasoning, we would have kept reasoning as a practice of the human mind. But because we did not keep the abstract and the logical together as one object, showing the mind what you can see is there, and so is what is not there, what you cannot see, we have lost the ability to reason, and we increased our needs for polar separation of objects to be able to define them. The next episode we'll get deeper into what polar separation actually means. This mathematical system was just an example to try to help show where we could have gone and maybe where we should go. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. And remember, all this can be found at singularreasoning.com.